Hello and welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Nick White from Carta.
More and more companies are considering investing in data literacy education, but still have questions about its value, purpose, and how to get the ball rolling. Introducing the newest monthly webinar series from Dataversity, Elevating Enterprise Data Literacy, where we discuss the landscape of data literacy and answer your burning questions. Learn more about this new series and register for free at dataversity.net.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Dataversity, and this is My Career in Data, a Dataversity Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to be talking with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Nick White, a data strategy director at Carta. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Nick, hello and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. So you're a data strategy director at Carta. So tell me about Carta. What is the company? What is it they do?
Yeah, Carta is a digital transformation agency. We are B Corp certified, so we do care about planet, people, and profit. We kind of do the full stack. So it's not just data, it's applications, it's cloud modernization, it's managed services. So, over the last few years as we formed, we've really created kind of this digital stack that, can do strategy and implementation across all digital products.
Oh, I love that. So tell me a little bit about why you became certified like that. Why is that important to Carta?
Because we want to use technology to make the world better for everybody. There is a place where profit and revenue can be responsible, and we truly believe in that, and that's what we want to be a part of. So that's why we went for it, and we are the first B Corp certified company on the London Stock Exchange. So it's something we're pretty proud of, and we continue to work with some responsibility socially and to the planet.
Oh, I really like that. That's great. So tell me then, so what do you do for Carta? What's your typical work week look like?
Well, I'm on a lot of Zooms like we are now. Mostly I am coaching people. I'm working with clients in the space of data transformation. There's a lot of thought that goes into how do you approach emerging technologies. So not only do I run our data strategy practice, but I also run our innovation lab where, we kind of go into emerging technologies, and you can't ignore generative AI, chat GPT, and all this stuff coming out, from everybody. So we've spent a lot of time, quite frankly, trying to figure out how do we bring that to our clients and how do we work better with it. So it's a little atypical, but because this is a watershed moment, I think, for AI, but in general, I'm usually coaching clients or internal folks on how we get the most out of data.
Oh, I love that a lot. So tell me, Nick, was this the dream when you were about 6 years old, just very young, did you dream like, I'm going to be a data strategy director when I grow up? What was the dream?
The dream, man, that's a good question. I think I always wanted to be a doctor. And I actually went into university pre-med, but then I didn't really like science classes. So instead, I married a doctor. So I just skipped out on that. And, I took some programming classes in high school, like old-timey programming classes. Like, it shows my age. We were in AS400s doing things like that. And I just kind of ran away from it in college. So I actually have my bachelor's degree in photojournalism with minors in English and poli-sci. So I kind of went the complete opposite way in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's fascinating. Do you find that you use those skills that you learned in that degree still?
I didn't know it at the time, but what I enjoy doing is telling stories. And I think that's what data exists to do, if you're using it correctly. So I didn't know at the time, but I was training to one, investigate and find root causes and insights and all of that stuff. And then, just with my strong past background in system thinking and
Yeah.
math, I just kind of stumbled my way and didn't even know it. It
Oh,
was it makes no sense, but it makes a lot of sense when you talk to people that are in data now.
sure, absolutely. So tell me then, so after college, what was the first job, and how did you start transitioning into data?
My first job out of college was at a general nutrition center, so a
Mhm.
vitamin store. And it's just, it was something I graduated in 2003 from college. And, not a ton of jobs were out at that time. So I kind of did the retail. I eventually made my way into newspaper advertising.
Hmm.
I did some sales, but I started to get more into the pricing realm
Mhm.
because I was I was the whiz kid at Excel, and everybody needed help with their proposals. So that's kind of how I started to sneak my way into it, was through marketing, advertising, and pricing. And that's where I spent some of the formidable years trying to figure out, like, what's the right price for advertising.
Hmm. That's a very handy skill. We're still, we everybody works on that all the time.
Yeah.
So then what? So then what did you do?
So then I ended up at they call them coupon clearing houses, but it was
Mhm.
it was related to the same industry. But I started to be part of the verification and fraud. So, like, now I was going from kind of reactive and
Mhm.
analysis to like proactive. Like, how do we put the systems in place and how do we do
Sure.
all that stuff? And really, from there, I started to think there has to be a way where, you know back it only had to happen once to me, but it happens all the time, where somebody walks in a room and they say, hey, here's the data, and somebody that had nothing to do with the data goes, I know that's wrong because of XYZ. And that
Mhm.
started to push me in towards more product management, governance, quality, because
Mm.
I'm like, I want to fix that problem because I think nobody's paying attention to it. So that's when I got into a little bit of big data and helping to support, retail and CPG clients, and then made my way, from there to, you know, product ownership, and really leaning into that mindset and trying to apply it to data and governance and quality. So, just kind of made my way through retail and CPG, and made my way finally to, Nike, where I was a data governance director, and like that was my job.
Yeah.
So I really leaned into it there. And then what I noticed there was, data governance. All these terms we're talking about, even my title, are very nebulous. Like, what do they mean? Um, and at the end of the day, I just kind of walked away from it saying, you know, it's more about enabling people with data than it is about governing data. And that's what I brought to Kin and Carta, was just this mindset of, we need to, I call it data product enablement, but we need to find a way to make the data have value. So that was 20 years of me just kind of weaving and bobbing and doing all sorts of different things around
Sure.
data, to just end up trying to, bring it back to kind of my journalism roots, and setting context and telling the story and making sure everybody understands the story.
I love that path. As you say, it doesn't make sense, and it does make so much sense, right? And through a lot of these interviews, I'm finding that following passion and being curious really lends to exactly where you are, right? And to a successful career path, and just being open to learning and exploring
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always say it's curiosity and being able to make logical connections. And then you have the
Hmm.
right mindset for this type of work, in my opinion.
Makes a lot of sense. So tell me, Nick, what was the biggest lesson so far in your career? Something that you use daily.
Oh man. Um, I I have learned that it's not so much about being great at everything. It's about leaning into the things that you're great at.
Mm,
And I think the more that people be themselves and lean into their strengths and kind of minimize the weaknesses that come with those strengths,
mhm.
that's where I feel like my career has started to really take off, and I felt more at ease and like I know what I'm doing and I know where I'm going, is just following who I am, which is I'm not a
Yeah.
serious guy. I'm kind of laid back, and it works with people. And also just the idea of I'm good at math, I'm good at logic puzzles, and hey, just lean into that. Other people could be good at other things, and it's not going to matter if you're good at those or not.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, so many, and I've made that mistake too, to try and be great at everything. Just think that I should have
Mm,
the answer to everything. Um,
yeah,
it- and that never did me any good.
never will either,
Nope,
as far as I
no.
know.
So, so I love that. So tell me then, Nick, what's your definition of data and how do you work with it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, data is information. Um, Full stop. Like that's what it is. It's not this thing that is in a database. It's not just digital data. It's not just things in rows and columns. Like I've had discussions. Well, there's content and there's data. I'm like, content is data. Like it's information. It's so to me, data is all of the things that we talk about, all of the things that we care about with around a business. And it's information. Like, and I
Yeah.
wish people knew that more and weren't as scared. That's why I'm so passionate about like we have to demystify it and we have to make people just know, hey, like data doesn't come out of thin air. Somebody created it and now you're using it. So let's just describe what's happening. That's it.
Oh, that's really nice. And how do you work with it daily in your job?
Yeah, I mean, today I've been focused a lot on the data strategy and getting all the pieces in place. So I'm super focused on probably more of the decision science, which is like this old thing, but then now it's kind of new. It's back and it's got a different branding, just like what the
Mhm.
heck was a data scientist back in the day. But like in my mind, it's how do I try to connect business outcomes and what people want to happen to the data that they're using to drive towards those. So a lot of
Mhm.
my work is kind of in between the lines and just trying to say, hey, if you want to achieve this, did you know it's, impacted by this? And at the end of the day, data's answering questions or automating processes. So, what are the questions you need to answer? So, a lot of my time is just trying to de-datafy data stuff and just say, hey,
Right.
it's information, it's answering questions, and it should be a part of driving business. It's not this separate thing. So, a lot of my time is spent talking to, leading teams and making
Mhm.
sure that we're hitting the mark when we're building something and also helping clients to kind of go from what I would call is like a gaseous state of like I think I know what I need to do to like at least a semi solid state where it's like yes, that's what we should do with data because I I'm sure you've seen it, Shannon, but like the statistics are stark at how much gets invested and how little gets rolled out into production or adds value. So that's I am right in there trying to do stuff that I would probably sleep better if I didn't get in there.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the Dataversity Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because you brought up all of these fun data keywords, data strategy, data governance. we get a lot of questions, what's the difference between a data strategy, data management, data governance? What are those things?
I don't know if there is, I think that's why I run away from all of those terms if I can.
Mhm,
Like data
mhm,
management, it's a thing, right? Like
mhm.
you're managing data, you're doing that stuff. You know, when I work with clients, it's like, well, you could say governance establishes the policies and then stewardship is the actual, you know, doing it. And then like sometimes they throw a business enablement part of it. And I
Mhm,
really just try to knock all those down and say, hey, that's one thing is like it should be about ensuring that when you're building data things, they're being used and they're adding value. And
mhm.
how do you do that? You do that by understanding the data and knowing when it's good or not and how to use it. So to me, I just like I run away from some of those terms because I don't know, when you hear strategy, Shannon, you might be like, oh, these are the guys that think tell us what to do and like they're,
Right.
everybody does straight strategy. So that's why like I don't even like my title sometimes. I'm just like, like,
Yeah.
so in my opinion, cut it any way you need to, but at the end of the day, you got to focus on value and you want to build things the right way that's extensible.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you call it, you got to do it.
Do you have a favorite story of a client finding value in their data?
Yeah, there's so I spent some time you know, at Nike. And what I would say is they've done really well with data and they're way ahead of their competitors, in the space.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I enjoyed the most was, and I called it KPI alignment, where you just kind of say, these are the things you're measuring and this is how it impacts your job. Like, so is it actually helping you
Mhm.
to impact the business? Are you in control over it? And I think, having an opportunity to just focus on, our supply chain, we focused on supply chain KPIs and just focusing on the fact that, hey, like if you don't do the legwork to say, we want to do X and this is your role in impacting X, all the way down to the person that's planning things, you miss out. So the idea of a KPI tree to just illuminate this fact to everybody, that was my biggest win. And it really made me think about like, hey, I'm assuming this, but
Right.
everybody misses it.
Yeah.
So that was really cool for me to have an impact on the organization, kind of stand up this new capability for them.
I love that. Very good example. Uh, so tell me, Nick, then, do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years and why?
Um, depends what you define is, as a president once said. I think it's changing. Uh, Look, if people aren't aware generative AI is going to reduce and change drastically what engineers of all kinds are doing, you're missing out. Like people can, to use a very technical term, poo poo it. But at the end of the day, there are practical applications that are going
Yeah.
to change the way that we interact with data. Even think about, the way that a traditional data management professional would try to manage data. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have to have rows and columns. I don't have to have a schema. We're talking about just semi-structured data
Mhm.
and a well-refined prompt will do a lot of of what we're struggling with today. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to become, the idea of less, making the donuts and more trying to figure out which donuts to make, if that makes sense, because
Yes.
eh, I I want everybody to use data. Like this should be democratizing to everybody.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I probably didn't answer your question. I think they will change And I think, people shouldn't be scared of losing jobs, but rather the fact that they will change and you will be able to have more impact and you'll be able to focus on creative value, things like
Hmm.
frameworks, things like that, that really, you know, tell the computers how to interpret it. So that's my answer. I mean, it's so weird. I don't even know how to answer it right now. I just feel like it will
Things,
change, but
yeah, things are changing so fast.
yeah,
It's just, it is hard to keep up.
I
But
agree.
yeah, do you think that generative AI will help uh, companies use more data?
I'm really encouraged by um, almost the no code solution. We're seeing some of them come out, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
was it like, I think Databricks already is planning it's going to be all built in and there's going to be a side panel and like I can go in as somebody who hasn't coded in a long time and probably, that's when I knew it was going to be big is I took a few classes in it and I was like, oh, like I'm right back in it
Yeah,
because it's just about structuring thoughts. So I think it will make people be able to have more data, but then again, it comes with all of the work to make sure that data is correct. So I feel like
yeah,
maybe in our space of data management, more, but different. In
yeah,
engineering and pipelining,
yeah.
different, probably less and different. So, you know, it's just, I don't know if you've played with it, but it is just
I
amazing.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to capture that you're still learning. You're still out there.
We
Yeah.
we were asked, we were one of the guys in marketing asked me and my co-director of our labs, hey, like, what's a good idea using generative AI for next year's Austin city limits or South by Southwest? I don't, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not a band, so
Yeah.
South by Southwest. Um, it's like, I cannot answer what's going to be cool in a year. I can't even answer what's going to be cool in 3
Right.
months. Like, I, I feel like, okay, there's something there with the metaverse and AR and, spatial computing. There's probably something there, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we all going to turn into Tony Stark and Iron Man? Probably some version of it sometime in the near future. But like, I, we laughed because um, the same guy asked us the same question in two different meetings and we said almost the exact same thing, like
Yeah.
no idea what's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Um, so what advice then would you give to people who are looking to get into some area of data?
I i mean, maybe this is the journalist in me, but you know don't bury the lead. Don't be um don't be distracted by shiny objects. Like, there are a lot of cool things, but I keep going to the fact of, what's the problem space, what's the outcome. That's where humans are going to like exist in this area, is how do we tell a computer how to work with data, interpret data. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm so big on, like, I was even telling our CEO, I was like, decision science is the next thing. Call it whatever you is, but whatever it is, but the people that will make sure that the thing is right versus just there are the
Mhm.
people that are going to be needed. And we're in super short supply of those people.
Very, very true. I love that. That's great advice. Well, Nick, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how would people find you and solicit services from Kin and Carta?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, which will provide you with this. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't ignore messages unless, hey, you're trying to sell me something. But if you need something, we're always there. And I think we have a ton of terrific information, case studies. You can go through the website and it'll tell you a lot about kind of how we've existed as this boutique digital consulting firm and kind of found our way to having an identity. So it would be great if people went there and you can see some of the blogs I've published, and you can see some of the case studies that we've worked on. And that would be terrific.
Oh, that'd be great. And yeah, we'll get all those URLs from you and get that posted to the website where we publish the podcast. So, Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love talking about this stuff, so it's really it's not even hard for me to do this.
Well, it definitely shows and really appreciate it. So thank you. And to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up to date on the latest in podcasts and in the latest in data management education, you may go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, and stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to Dataversity Talks, a podcast brought to you by Dataversity. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.